I'm very happy to see you. And how are you doing?
I'm a bit tired because there is a shitload of stuff to do right now, just preparing for the tour and so on, and yeah, it's a lot of stress, but I'm fine, so we can do what we love, even if it's sometimes stressful. But yeah, this is what's going on right now.
So, my congratulations with the fact that your upcoming album, Hollywood Suicide, is on the way.
Mm.
And can you please tell me what are the major differences between recording your second album and the debut one?
Oh, that's hard to tell. I would say, it's like since the debut album dropped, it's almost 4 years ago or something, so I made a lot of progress as an artist and so on. But I would say like what really changes kind of like the consciousness when it comes down to songwriting and so on. On the first record, it was more like, okay, so I'm just gonna give it a try. When I left my old band, I didn't even know that I'd be capable of writing my own music and a whole album, so but it just went naturally. And this time it's more like, okay, so I've realized the best way to write music is more to focus on myself and my feelings and so on, because music was always my relief. And I think with that kind of consciousness, it was definitely a different writing process. I tried to really I don't know, how can I say that? Like really to avoid kind of like that competition, because you're surrounded by that many great bands. And sometimes it's hard, like not to get distracted, and this is what I think was like the biggest difference. And I started like pretty late, I would say, it was, I had to get the connection back to write music after the pandemic. That was basically like the biggest thing. But yeah, this is what has happened so far.
On the upcoming album, there are less featuring artists. There is actually
Yes.
only one, if I remember.
Yeah.
So, what's the reason for that? So, because there were the previous.
So basically, it was like a bit going back and forth, with the songs. I was already too late, like I said, and then just try to find like a few feature artists like for that specific track and so on. There was a lot of chaos, It's not that I didn't want to have like anybody on the record, but yeah, so schedule was pretty tight this time, like after a long while, so, and I don't know, so to find the right feature artist who is available, who fits on the track and so on and so on. Should it be a single? And I don't know, so there was a lot of communication by finishing that record, and yeah, there was basically no chance this time.
Okay, and who is this decadent charismatic lady on the cover? Is it even a lady?
Oh, it is, but so this is like a friend of mine. I mean, we became friends like after a while, so there's this guy like Ally Wayne Gacy, and I met him on a festival, and I absolutely loved his art before, so we had a conversation. I said, dude, could you imagine like to hand paint like I don't know, the whole album artwork, and he was completely down for that. So we exchanged ideas. I told him what the tracks should be about and so on and so on, and I just gave him titles, so, and he started painting, and that was fucking great. I mean, it's like you got two different art departures that just work on something together, it's like it's crazy to see how he interprets like the stuff that I'm writing and so on, and just put his own and transfer it into his own art. Yeah, I don't know if he just has a model or something, but I don't know. I guess I've never asked him, so I should do. No, but he's just, yeah, he's painting by hand. And this is like a great thing, what makes it from me personally a lot more valuable,
Yes, in the era of digital art, handwritten painting, I think it's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's speak about art a little, not a little actually, and quite globally. Do you agree that art creations must carry a message? And if yes, what is the message of your creativity process?
I would say the message sometimes it's not like that obvious, So sometimes you just create something and people feel something or whatever, even if you haven't thought about that before. I would say it's like art is always communication. I mean, you cannot communicate if you're just doing something. Even if you just paint something or whatever, or you write a track, there is always like emotions involved, you know. So I think by creating art, you always communicate, and there is always a message behind that. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes not, you know. So I think you can't avoid it anyway, you know. And me personally, it's just like that. I'd like to tell my story. And this time it was more like a concept album about this downward spiral of a Hollywood diva and so on. But for me, it's more like the music the way I write music is pretty subconscious. You know, sometimes I understand what I'd like to tell myself when the track is done and just a few weeks later or something. But what I know, if I have like a specific feeling or whatever, I have to get it out of my system and transfer it into a track, you know. And most of the times it's like when I have really tough times, I write better tracks, you know. It's always, I have this urge, okay, it has to go somewhere, you know. Well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And speaking about dark times, my next question is, what is the attractiveness of dark side, so to speak, in art? Because it's quite attractive, sexy, and so on. People like stuff. I mean, that's true.
So you mean why it's so attracting, like to do dark art in general, or?
Yeah, I must say I'm attracted to this aesthetic as well, and I've been thinking about this for years and years. I think maybe for me since I watched The Addams Family when I was something 11, 12. I thought that there is something about it for sure, and then it was like Bram Stoker's Dracula, Marilyn Manson, and then, well, yeah.
I feel you.
But when I ask myself why, because generally I consider myself quite a happy person. So what is your opinion?
I think I mean, you have to divide it into two emotions, I think, you know. I mean, feeling happy is great, you know. So, but if you just make it through some hard times, that has always an impact. So I would say, like, if you feel pain or if you're sad or whatever, this emotion is way bigger than just feeling happy, you know. I think it's basically just the intensity of emotions, and maybe that's the reason why people are attracted to something like dark and whatever, because the impact is just bigger, you know. It's like, I don't know, yeah, just I'm thinking about Addams Family because it's kind of like funny and so on, you know. But I think if it's dark, it has always like a bigger impact because I would say, like, visually it's always a different thing, you know. It's I just think the expression is more intense than if you just have something that makes you happy, you know. I would always used to say, okay, happiness or just happy moments, this is just for the good times, you know, that you recharge your batteries. It doesn't make you think, you just enjoy it. It's more like about enjoyment and just, I don't know, reflecting yourself, you know. That's the reason why. I mean, if you feel shitty and you overcame like a really bad time, you know, that really changed you as a person. I would say sadness is for progress and happiness is for just recharging your batteries and just enjoy it.
That's great, actually. Great idea.
I could explain it.
Okay, aesthetic is deeper in general, so to speak.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, probably it is. So, okay, coming to the album, I was quite surprised that you mentioned that it's a concept album because I listened to it, but I didn't notice that. That's amazing. Can you just reveal a little more about the concept and the second question as well? What songs are the most special for you and why?
Actually, I don't know how I came up with that concept. So I started just writing tracks. And at some point, I can't even remember why, but I said, okay, so maybe we could do it like a concept album. But I didn't force anything, you know, so there are as well tracks on that is not like in this timeline. But Hollywood Suicide, basically for me, is just like this combination. Okay, you come to Hollywood just to live your dream, to make it, you know, but to really make it, that's kind of like a suicide because you're just working 24/7, you know. I always used to say, hey, you're writing over, I don't know, half a year, maybe even longer on a record just that's 45 minutes long, you know, for a fucking show that it's maybe just half an hour long, you know, and you have to give a lot. You don't have holidays. I don't know, you really have to love that shit to keep going, you know. And that's the reason why I called the album Hollywood Suicide. And so it turned into something like this downward spiral because the show business is kind of like attracting and there were so many dark sides about that. So the whole album is kind of like a downward spiral about a Hollywood diva. So First track, Hollywood suicide. She's coming to Hollywood, trying to live a dream. You know, everything is fine. So, and then she's realizing, okay, I mean, sex. You could see that's the second track. You could see it like as a movie that she's shooting or something. And then it starts like with FSU, fuck shit up, you know, where she's realizing, okay, there is like this sensation of being different, you know. I mean, if you're an artist, you're always kind of like different and you have a lot of power. You just live in a different life, and like being that outsider, it's sometimes it could be chaotic, you know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll or whatever. It's kind of like freedom, but you're kind of like an outsider on the other hand, you know, at the same time. So then it just goes down and down and down, I would say, you know. And in the end, it's like the last track. This is kind of like what sums it up, like this whole thing, why she came into that situation. And basically, it's just like everybody just try to find a place where you belong, you know. This is just like how I would see, okay, this is what life is about. Yeah, so just to sum it up pretty quick, you know. And I'd say like the most intense and important track for me is Heavy Rain, because this is like based on some personal experiences. And it was the most intense track to write. It was like a shitty time, you know, and that was definitely pretty fucking painful just to write that track, you know. So I'd say like, okay, that's the most important track for me.
Yes, I would say I'm sorry to hear that, but the song appears to be great. So maybe it was worth it in the end.
At least we had a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. What's your favorite horror movie?
Oh shit. I would say Silent Hill. It's funny because like I had an interview a couple of weeks ago with where we've been talking exactly about horror movies, you know. And I'm not like that much into horror movies because I'm always disappointed, you know. And maybe that's the reason why I like Silent Hill. I mean, yeah, probably you could consider it a horror movie, but I really like it how simple and minimalistic they kept the aesthetics, you know. It was like they didn't want to change anything what was already great. How they did it with Resident Evil, you know, I got so pissed after watching that first movie. And Silent Hill is more down to earth, you know. And I love the aesthetics, I love the story behind that. And I would say that's the reason why it's my most favorite horror movie.
I agree totally about disappointment. I've watched Hereditary. Yeah, so it impressed me greatly because a lot of stuff starts going on probably in the first minutes of the movie, and it's quite creepy and intense. Yes, I have a lot of prejudice towards recent horror movies, but I'd recommend really.
Okay.
So my next question, I think it relates a little to Hollywood, not aesthetics, but realities, probably. What is your opinion on cancel culture?
Well, my opinion is on cancel culture. I would probably say that's a really good question. Nobody asked me that before. I think nowadays the biggest problem is like that everything what started with a good intention completely transformed into something, I don't know, which is used as an instrument to drag people down. I think cancel culture in the first place had like a really good intention, but nowadays it's like, even also, I mean, on social media, people have power. I always used to say everybody who has an Instagram profile has a loaded gun, you know? And of course, I think if you call out someone who did something bad, that's a good thing, you know? And as well, like with this whole Me Too thing, you know, a lot of people found the power like to speak about what has happened to them. And this is something I experienced, like not personally, but I know a lot of people that, I don't know, got canceled just because somebody wants to fuck up their life. And this is crazy because it's like people are not just cooperating in a way. Most of the people, they just want to blame. They don't want to change things, you know? And I think everything started with a good intention, but transformed into a weapon, you know? And this is like what I think about nowadays society, what is dangerous. And I had that conversation. I have to tell it. I never actually told that in an interview, but it's not about cancel culture. It's more like about feminism, you know? So I've been out like with a friend of mine, and there was like this guy, and he was totally into her. And he just asked me the whole time, yeah, what is about your friend? And so on. I said, yeah, just talk to her, you know, just give it a try, whatever, you know. And she had another friend with us, you know. It was like this young feminist guy or whatever. He just recognized that he wanted to talk to her the whole time, you know, and he completely freaked out at some point, and he said, I've heard that you've been talking like the whole time about her and so on, that she's beautiful and whatever. That fucks me up, you know. And I said, whoa, hold on. And surprisingly, the other guy was like, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I should reflect myself, but how can I do it better? You know? And I was so surprised. It was like, okay, there's really somebody who would like to think about his behavior, you know? And the other guy, he just said, no, you're a fucking asshole. I don't want to talk to you. And I said, hey, well, okay, stop. So he is willing just to reflect himself, you know, what's the reason why you're just blaming him? I mean, the whole time, you know, he was like, yeah, I'm surrounded by sexism and all that shit every fucking day. I'm done with that. And I said, well, you have to have those conversations to change people, you know, you have to discuss about things, because otherwise you won't change anything, you know. And then I told him, and you know what, you try to protect somebody who probably don't want it to be protected, and we're talking about a girl who's not even here. Okay, she's inside, so what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, this is a fucking privilege, and you just turning the whole problem around, you know. It's like, I don't know, I think things are getting out of hand sometimes, you know, but you really have to discuss if you really like to change the situation or just to have a positive impact. And I think most of the people forget about that.
Yes, incredible point. And thanks for sharing this story. I think it will be a very, very
no problem.
Very good thing to hear for some people, I'm sure. Are we leaving this, by the way? Because
yeah,
some personal stories I always ask, so I was just leaving it in the interview. My next question actually concerns one of the moments that you mentioned, is having a social media and basically being a public figure. Do you feel comfortable being, obviously, you know, a role model for some people as a public figure? You have fans, and some of them are maybe underaged. Do you feel responsibility for your fans?
That's a really good question.
Thanks.
I would say I hate it that I'm like sometimes part, I don't know, I would never consider myself a star or whatever, you know, but it was always weird for me, like taking pictures of people and so on, because for me, it's always like, hey, you're coming to my show. You just let me live my dream, you know, so, and you're putting me on a pedestal. That's a weird feeling. I'd be more thankful for you coming out to my show, you know. That's the first thing. And I would never just think that I'm kind of like superior or whatever just by doing art or something, you know? I mean, I kind of understand that feeling, you know, but social media, if you have a reach or I don't know, a lot of people following you, you know, sometimes people think, okay, I'm better than you know, and I'm like the complete opposite way. I always used to say, hey, thanks for supporting me, you know. But about my responsibility, it's like I know that I have responsibility, you know, but for me, it's like sometimes I have to just speak about weird things, you know. It's like it's always something like in between, just expressing yourself the way you'd like to do it, you know, being aware of probably that you could hurt somebody. But on the other hand, I'm thinking, okay, if you're not doing what you do like as intense as possible, maybe the story is not like as real as it could be. I don't know. I would say, okay, even if I hurt somebody out there, I'm willing just to have a discussion about that to explain myself. I think this is how I treat it.
Yes. And again, we come back to the necessity of communication.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So one of my last questions is coming back to the featuring artists with whom you would like to collaborate in the nearest or quite distant future. So maybe let's dream a little bit.
Billie Eilish, probably. Yeah, I think Billie Eilish will be cool, you know. I don't know what she would do in my tracks, but I'm pretty sure she's gonna do the right thing, you know. So, and I'm a really big fan. I mean, the new stuff, I don't know, but the old stuff, you know, like it's so minimalistic and so on point. And what I really like about Billie Eilish is like she completely turned the pop culture upside down. It was like you just knew those super skinny, sexy, perfect singing girls or whatever, and and then she's coming like doing it pretty dark, just wearing those big clothes, green hair. It was like the complete opposite,
Mm-hmm.
and just with such a young age to create something that really has such an impact. It's great. She did definitely her own thing, and yeah, I would say Billie Eilish.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very interesting and unexpected choice. That's cool. So, last question. What would be your message for the fans who will surely watch this video?
A message for the fans. That's a good question. Oh, I said that so many times. I would say stop smoking because I said that in all the interviews. And if you'd like to listen to my record, just tell me what you think. If you like it, I'm happy. If you don't like it, it's cool for me. Just listen to Billie Eilish or Miley Cyrus or whatever you like. And yeah, just enjoy your day, live a happy life. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing because it's hard nowadays.
Well, yeah, very, very good message, I think. So, thank you so much. We are.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for a great chat. And I will be very, very happy to see you on the road someday. And good luck.
I mean, like in 1 week.
Uh-huh.
In 1 week, we're gonna start.
Yeah. Okay. So have a good time and
Perfect.
yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.